So, hey everyone, Andy Hall with Simply Secular Dave. We were talking about AR-15s, and I was about to say there was this statistic from the Vietnam War that only one bullet out of like maybe 214 or so from the state side, from U.S. military, actually hit its target. So yeah, it is, in terms of mass shooters, this is just a point that Dave and I were talking about before the show started, then yeah, in some circumstances, it makes sense to physically attack, even if you don't have a gun, of course, to physically attack the shooter.
Hang on. What we were saying is, if they were saying in active shooter training, they teach you don't get backed into a corner. If you have a chance to get away, get away. If you get backed into a corner and your options are wait until somebody comes there to shoot you, or attack them and try and keep them from shooting you or anyone else. If you can injure them and get away, or if you can injure them and stop them, if you can injure them and take their weapon from them, those are better options than just sitting there waiting for them to come and kill you.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We're not trying to approve of vigilantism.
No, not at all, because that'll get you killed anyway.
Probably from the cops.
Yeah, this is true. So if you're just tuning in, you will you'll notice I've been able to resolve the issues here with my video. So I feel pretty good about that.
Did you wave your magic selfie stick over it, or what happened there?
That's I turn it on.
And that's not a euphemism, chat.
What's up, Sammy?
G'day.
Hope you're doing well.
Did you, is that a reference to my comment? Did you see it, or
Yes.
had you already you saw it?
I don't know if I saw it. What was the comment, Sammy?
Dave it said something about seeing whether your ISP is choking out your stream. And I said, what Andy lets his ISP choke out is completely between him and his ISP.
Right. It's completely consensual. That's what it is. I can tell you this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is completely consensual. Though I will tell, if you want to hear another horrible Andy story about a past relationship, because this is, of course, Andy.
The girlfriend's not listening, right?
About choking. See, now you think to yourself, choking out your partner when they want to be, when that's what they're into. You think to yourself, sure, what bad things could happen from that, right? Well, it turns out there could be a lot of things that could go bad, and not exactly the things that you think of at the time. So I was in a horrible relationship, and you're asking me, so which horrible relationship was this, Andy? This was just after the divorce. So in my defense, it was my post-divorce horrible relationship, and this young woman had a belt that had studs that had that. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. So you can see that after, and I'm anxious enough. So when engaging the act, I doubly made sure that I wasn't going to do anything horrible or end up on the evening news about about something horrible happening. However, the belt did leave marks on her neck. And during a conversation, and this was a sign for me to leave, by the way, this was a sign that the relationship had run its course. She basically told me that, you can see where this is going to, that, and she was the one actually threatening that was at the point of preventing me from leaving the apartment. She was physically barring the way. And it's like, I'll just call the cops if I have to. I don't have a problem with that. And she shows me her neck and she goes, who do you think they're going to believe? And I'm like, well, this is a clear sign that I'm out of this relationship right here. That this is the sign right here. So another tale of woe and a cautionary tale from horrible relationships that I've been in.
But I think we've all at one time or another dated someone who had like low iron or whatever it is, where they're you enjoy an afternoon together, and then you realize the next day there's suspicious like fingerprints or markings that have been left behind on somebody in a way that you're like, hey, wait a minute, how did that happen?
How did that get there? That's yeah. Yeah, and typically, yeah.
I just turn around and say, "That's nothing. You should see my groin."
I see you and I raise you.
She turned me to stone. It seems to be passing now, but
I'm glad that there's only like maybe 3 or 4 people actually watching this. So when I say horrible stories from my past, there's like only a few people. There's only a few people who see these things, so that's good. Most
but
people don't.
it's a great view into the psyche of what makes Andy so interesting to watch every day.
Oh yes. The backstory is, you only see the jokes, right? You only see the jokes. It's really the after show that you get to see what actually occurred, what has brought me to this state.
Is it now? Now, speaking of Andy in his element, are there videos on your channel of you doing stand up from like pre-COVID?
Yeah, there's an MIT bit that I did when I did my my Islam joke, and the Islam joke goes, I'm an atheist, but I'm not. I don't know if I've said this before. I'm an atheist, but I'm not Islamophobic. Whenever I play Marry, Fuck, or Kill with Moses, Muhammad, and Jesus, I always choose to marry Muhammad. Blessed be his name. I've only told that joke once in public, and that was with over at MIT for the atheists. The atheist group over at MIT. So, and there were a lot of, because it's MIT, right? So there were
people who don't know, MIT is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology,
right? And so there are a large amount of international students there. A lot of people from countries that are predominantly Muslim, and it got a lot of laughs. That little joke got a lot of laughs.
Just on a tangent here, isn't MIT the people who are working with the Real Dolls company to animate those silicone dolls?
MIT is. I'm sure that they could. Who knows? I cannot say for sure.
That's unconfirmed. We'll have to look that up on Snopes later.
That's right. That's right.
So, are you working this afternoon there, Andy?
I am working, only for a couple of hours. And so, I woke up on time today. My cat did not wake me up. She was happily just lying asleep on the bed with me and the girlfriend. Minding her own business, the cat and the girlfriend, to tell you the truth. And so, so I woke up at a decent time, as against to like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I got all the work done for the first show. And now I have to, once I'm done here, I get to write the blog post for today, and then do some minor humaning things. Like I have to get more coffee. I just found out, much to my horror, I'm out of coffee. So I have to go to the store and get some coffee. And then I'm going to work later on today and do a couple of hours worth of work.
I had to go to the local drugstore the other day to pick something up. And while I was over there, I was walking down the aisle, and they had coffee on for less than half price for like a coffee beans, because I grind my own. But They had bags for less than a half price, but you could only buy 2. So I stocked right up on coffee, and now I have too much.
Is there too much? Is there too much?
Well, there's not enough in this cup. Yeah.
Just mainline that shit.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind slow drip if I could carry a IV bag with me and just right into the main line, right there. That I would like that.
Somebody is going to come up with eventually. We have a nicotine patch. There is going to be a caffeine patch. Like, wake up in the morning, slap one on, away you go.
Right. A true story. This is from decades ago. I knew someone who basically overdosed by taking, where this is going. who overdosed by getting the pain reliever patches and just chewing on them.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another. See, this is just a weird dive into the darkness of funny stories. I would tell my kids when they were younger, they would know that shit was about to get real. When I say, I have a funny story about that, and they're like, "Don't tell us the funny story."
Do you mean funny ha-ha or funny you've never heard anything like this before in your life?
And then my daughter came up with this term, "phonorable," so it'd be funny and horrible at the same time.
Horrible. Yeah. Sounds
Wow.
like you're surrounded by smart people there, Andy.
I always try to surround myself with smart people.
Yeah.
See, that's what you see, Dave. But I see more to the point that his daughter needs to create a word to describe his funny.
Because there isn't anything in the English language really that sums it up at this point.
It's funny in a way that people laugh at that TV show Jackass.
Yeah. A little bit more. I would hope that my humor is a little bit higher brow than stapling your nuts to the board with a nail gun or something like that. I hope it is. I don't know if it is or not.
Did they do that?
I think they did something
Probably.
like that.
Probably. If they haven't yet, they just wrote
I know
it down.
they paper cutted their testicles.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
let's not talk about that.
See, I never ever understood that show. I never enjoyed it. Never found it funny, amusing.
Neither did I.
I enjoy. I used to love what was Australian funny home videos, but you also have American funniest home videos.
Mm-hmm.
I love having a laugh at someone trip over just like the next person. But
Right.
Jackass just seemed, I think, because it was so forced.
Yeah.
Because they had to take it to the extreme, it was just too forced.
Yeah.
I heard Joe Rogan, who, put that on your bingo card, guys, because that's
right.
I heard Joe Rogan talking about fear factor, and I felt this almost like at the same time, almost the same way he did about the show. He said the show was really interesting for the first season, where you were pushing people to their limits and you were seeing people experience things that they would never have walked down that road in their life, putting them in uncomfortable positions and seeing a bunch of them succeed. But by season 3, it was just a TV network torturing human beings.
Well, that's what it was. You're right. Yeah. You're completely spot on with that. And the real criminal thing is that the prize was so small.
Yeah.
For 2 people, they were only going to get $5,000 a piece, I think, Dave, if I'm correct. And then, after taxes, you're only getting basically $3,500 for eating donkey dick. Literally, that's what you're getting paid for. And then putting your life in danger and who knows what other crazy things. It's like that's not worth it for me personally.
Yeah.
You would have to put you'd have to put zeros. At least 2 zeros at the end of that for me to make it worthwhile for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I won't eat like on a day-to-day basis, and none of it was ever on that show.
I've never eaten an oyster, to tell you the truth. I have watched people eat oysters, and it's like, it's not for me. It looks too much like sea phlegm, in my personal opinion. But if you want to eat oysters, go ahead. But I have trouble eating oysters. I would never be, even when I was eating meat, I'd never be able to get on that show just because of the crap that they made you consume.
I think I mentioned this before, but when the church camp that I helped to organize, they were right in a place called Oyster Bay. So there's oyster fisheries and stuff, and they actually have a contract with one of these companies to cross their land to get to the waterfront, to get to the oyster beds. So these guys brought up a couple of coolers of oysters and mussels for us to all enjoy. And I'm not a seafood fan at all. I don't like briny food. The salty thing doesn't do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat salt and vinegar chips, right? So it's just not my thing. But I got talked into, well, you've got to try it at least once and see if you like it. And it was, I didn't throw up, but it crossed my mind as an option.
Is it more a case of you proactively didn't throw up as opposed to throwing up?
I think I was skirting, like there was probably a moment or two where my body was saying, get this out, and my brain was going, don't throw up in front of the children.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to be careful about that, because that's why I tried, and then it just comes out. It comes out your nose. If it's going to come out your mouth, and if you keep your mouth shut, it will come out your nose, and it's a very unpleasant experience. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. I think we've, being the type of people we are, we've all gotten to the point of where our body reacted badly to something we ate and or drank.
Oh yeah, and combinations thereof.
And let's all just take a moment to acknowledge just how fast and far our body can extinguish things out of it that it doesn't want in there.
Oh yeah. It is remarkable. It is remarkable.
Your body can expel stomach fluids at incredible pressure through the tiny orifice of your mouth trying to stay closed. And it just turns you into a human sprinkler. I have been known to mumble after vomiting somewhere I did not want to vomit, and trying to suppress it, and then like, oh, this is going to happen.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I never want to vomit. I mean, that's never like the A option unless things have gone really south.
Oh no, we were down the list somewhere around D.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
The A option would have been not. The B option would have been do it gently and quietly somewhere where it's acceptable to do so, like a toilet. The C option was, how about a sink in the garage? The D option was, oh crap, I'm not going to make it out of this room. And then looking at myself after this had happened and thinking, that's got to be an indoor record.
Nice.
Yeah, D is usually somewhere between, do I have time to glance at the flooring and see whether I'm over carpet or linoleum, or do I just go for it?
Yeah. The carpet option is never pleasant. That's not a pleasant option.
Is this expensive shag?
Oh man, I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat too. If you're just tuning in, we're talking all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah,
they've missed some riveting chat too.
Oh, riveting chat from how not to. Yeah, I'm not even going to go over it because I'm just like.
That's how riveting it is.
Well, it's incriminating. That's what it is. It's incriminating to me. I'm self-incriminating. So yeah.
In Canada we don't have the Fifth Amendment, right?
Yes. Yep. So you can you testify against yourself in court then, Dave, in Canada?
No, yourself or your spouse you cannot. But
okay.
Yeah. Unless you sign a plea deal or a plea deal or a pardon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So throwing up in a vehicle. I don't think, have I done that? I don't know if I have or not. I've always been able to get out of the vehicle before vomiting.
I was coming home from a party one night, and my very dear friend, who I won't incriminate by mentioning his name in this story, but everyone who knows me really well will know who it is. He rolled my head
Neil? Are we talking about Neil the 64?
No, pre-Neil.
Okay, all right.
But I was in such a disgusting state, and this person was taking care of me, getting me home, and rolled my head up in the electric window of a 1973 green Buick Century Luxus.
Nice.
So that I would not puke in his car.
Wow. So
that's a friend, right?
So I'm picturing that you could, even if you were strangled, right? If you were choked by the window, which could have happened, right? At least you wouldn't have vomited inside the car.
It was more of a like head stuck in the railing sort of deal where the window and, so you could wiggle around but not get back in the car.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Merciful. That's what that was.
As crazy and awful as it was, he's a smart guy. He figured it out.
That's good. Good for him.
I had a friend who told me a story. It was quite amusing, but I'll put my camera on. So they were sitting at a table out to dinner, and they weren't feeling well. And it was a kind of a dinner that was meeting, I think, possibly new in-laws or new family, sort of a big deal, anxious times and whatever. And they realized that they were going to be sick, and the table they were sitting at was like, 5 or 6 people on either side of them. And it was like they had a split second to decide, where am I going to spew? Like, there's no way this is going to end well, but I just need to make the best of this situation. And they actually just put their head down and lifted their shirt up and spewed into their shirt.
Perfect.
And basically no one noticed. And they were like, excellent. And then they looked down and realized that they were cupping this, bucket load of vomit in their shirt. And they still weren't going to get away with it. Like, they had to get up and walk out with this.
I've never heard a story like that. I think that would be great for a movie or a script, a TV series. I think that's hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that would work if you were eating pizza, but if you were just drinking beer all night, that's just you're using your shirt as a filter.
It must have been pretty solid, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could say, you could set up the bit maybe by saying it's one of those stain resistant shirts, things just roll off. And then, so I imagine those stain resistant shirts where stuff's supposed to roll off would be able to hold your vomit better. I mean, and not just, Dave's skeptical about my assertion here. As well.
I don't know if Scotchgard works that way.
Yeah.
Denim would
eat breakfast here. Sorry, Tobin.
Denim jacket. A denim jacket would definitely hold it.
Oh yeah, it would hold, but not indefinitely.
No.
You'd get seepage.
No, yeah.
Hey, so, good news. Speaking of denim, I had purchased some jeans a while back when my sister was down in the States, and I got a great deal on them. I bought extras, and when I was moving, I found them. And I've lost so much weight this year, I actually fit into them again.
Oh, well, congratulations. What's up, Rage?
Hey, Rage.
So, yes, yeah. I'm suffering from the opposite problem, is that I am putting on weight. I'm hoping, actually, the job that I'm doing will help, because it's a physical job. I'm moving around quite a bit. Yeah. And a lot of the places that I go to are within walking distance. So I'm hoping that the added exercise, the added physical activity will help me drop a bit of weight. I would put on a lot of weight, but it's enough for me to notice.
As long as the girlfriend doesn't say anything about it.
I have my own body issues, as many of you know, I have my own body issues. And so even when I'm at my quote unquote ideal weight, that's still, I would still opt out for another body if I had a choice, but yeah.
Andy, that's not a healthy thought.
What's that?
That's not a healthy thought.
It's not a healthy thought. But I've been able to spin it into a comedic bit a couple of times. So yeah.
I on the other hand, other than my height, because I'm quite short, and really? That's just a male thing, caring about our height. But I'm only 5'10", about 5'9", 5'10".
I'm 5'10". That's not short.
No, I don't. I mean, my partner's like 5'4" or something, so I don't feel short. But I'm happy with my body shape slash style. When I'm in shape, I've just never been in shape. If I could get there, I have that awesome V. My dad used to have it, and I got his shape, but unfortunately, I don't like sports.
Mhm.
I know exercise is good for me, but so are vegetables, and I won't eat those dirty motherfuckers. So, like,
They were in the ground. A lot of them were in the ground.
What hope have I got? Honestly,
when people say that the food that this so and so tastes earthy, it's like that's just another word for dirt.
Yeah,
It's like dirt. What's up,
Yeah.
Ray? I hope you're doing well.
I have people who call vegetables reconstituted manure.
Yeah. Well, I'll take vegetables over fruit, though. I dislike fruit overall.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do like raisins, but I like salting my raisins.
Oh, I don't like raisins at all. Raisins are dead grapes, and grapes should have been made into wine. That's my take, my short take on it. Yeah.
I love grapes.
6'3", huh? Wow. I do have to fight, and I'll be honest. I do have to fight the instinctual urge not to dislike people who are taller than me. I've heard Penn Jillette say the same thing. Penn Jillette's much taller than I am, but he's like, yeah, there's something instinctual about just having this weird midbrain reaction to people taller than you in person. I'm not proud of that, mind you, but it's a thing.
It is.
It never really bothered me because I can go into any store anywhere and pick up a shirt and it fits me. I can pick up a pair of pants and it fits me. Like, everything fits me. I am like the median of North America. I'm white, blue eyes, 5'10", 190 pounds. Everything fits me.
I'm like that too, except I can insult people without even knowing about it. See, now this is interesting. So Tobin and you, Kendra, are the same height. As that's interesting because I hear some women, not all women, saying that they would have difficulty dating someone even the same height as they are.
Yeah, that's because when they wear heels, they'd be taller than you. But I'm sure Tobin, could wear heels as well.
Oh yeah.
He'd look banging in some heels.
I can't find pants that are long enough. That's funny.
Yeah. For me, I have razor thin ankles.
You must be in proportion, Knock, or unless you've got like really long legs, because you don't look tall on camera.
Well, nobody does.
I guess neither does Andy, to be honest.
If you look at Neil or Objectively Dan, they're both, I think, 6'3", 6'4", and they look average on camera, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
It's all a matter of perspective, right?
True.
The only thing you can tell on camera is somebody has a huge head.
Dude, even then, right? I was on B's stream last night, and B's like talking about how B has a small head, and I'm like, I'm your like bizarro person, because my head, I have to get, when I have a hat on, I have to put the hat up to the most, in terms of fitting, so that it fits over my ginormous freaking head.
Huh.
Wow. But, and I would have said that you actually had a narrow, longer head.
I do have one. I have a narrow head, but
well.
it's big this way. That's what it is.
Wow.
You find out about Andy Hall. You find out about weird choking stuff. You have to go back to hear that. You have to go back. I'm not going to repeat that story. My Muslim joke, as well as the fact that I have a ginormous freaking head, and you never knew it. See, bam, all that information that you never cared about.
I did.
Thank you, Sammy.
I'm writing it down.
Writing it down for the court, for the FBI.
It's going in the catalog, yeah. So when he snapped and he killed all those people, oh, hang on, I got a list.
Yeah, dude. If there's anything
this dude's head was ginormous.
Ginormous. Those big headers. You got to be careful about those big headers. They're ready to pop.
Oh, jeez. So
That's why I don't think I would be good as if I ever did lose my hair, which I don't think I will at this point. If I did lose my hair, I would have a horrible head for being bald. Some people have really good heads.
why would you say that? I don't think your head would be completely terrible.
No, I don't know. You have to see it. You have to like see
Do
the
you
whole.
feel like weirdness in your head? Have you
Oh,
got
there is
like,
weirdness in my
parts?
head, Dave. You're completely spot on. There is weirdness with my head. In my head, phrenologically speaking, I should, I.
Well, you're not like follically disadvantaged. Or
I'm not.
anything.
I'm lucky. I have to tell you, I am lucky with the follicles.
Yeah. What about an eyebrow? Would you shave an eyebrow off on a dare?
Well, this is like years ago. This is another stupid story for me. Right?
Bring it on.
So I was working as a cook, as a short order cook. This is like early 90s. And I was trying.
Andy, I have to interrupt. Your accent, to me as an Australian, you just said cuck. Sorry.
Being
I had to do a double take.
Being a
When I was a short order cuck.
It pays a lot better than a short order cook, to tell you the truth. It pays a lot better.
Sorry.
But,
so this was in Massachusetts.
This is in Massachusetts. I was lighting
what age, like decade range were you in? Like I
was in my 20s.
Okay.
I was in the age of doing stupid shit.
Nice.
So I was lighting a cigarette off of which I shouldn't have been doing, off the stove. And it turns out that hair burns really quickly. Before you know it. I don't think I burned my entire eyebrow off, but there was a smell of burnt hair. And when you smell the smell of burnt hair, you know what it is. You know what it is. But would I shave off an eyebrow? Sure. I'll tell you this: it would take a lot less money for me to shave off an eyebrow than it would be for me to go on Fear Factor and eating.
Oh, yeah.
Food.
Because an eyebrow will grow back pretty quick. You'd think a couple of weeks should be fine.
Exactly. And I'd have one hell of a story to talk about why I only have one eyebrow. I'd be like, I only have one eyebrow.
If you did the one eyebrow on a dare, would you shave the other one off just for the balance, for the symmetry? Are you OCD like that, or you?
I'm not. I think I would just maybe, it all matters what the dare would be, because anyone who's played Dungeons and Dragons before and you've ever had to make a wish, that the devil's in the details when you're making a wish, right? Because there could be a lot of when you're selling your soul. There's a lot of legalities involved, a lot of fine print. So in terms of the dare,
the old 12-inch pianist.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite jokes. I like what Tesla Ranger wrote. Did you learn nothing from Mythbusters? It's in the opening sequence.
Am I missing an eyebrow? Yeah. So if the dare meant that I would have to keep it visually like one eyebrow, then I would, of course, abide by the dare, by the rules and regulations of the dare. Yeah, but otherwise, I'm not sure. Hey, Wild Eden, how you doing?
Yeah, I've lost the majority of both my eyebrows and most of one of my eyelashes in a flame over incident. We'll call it that.
Was this work related?
It was either work or working on cars or stealing gas or one of those things.
Nice.
I can't remember the exact incident, but I know that I've looked up and gone like this and gone, oh, there's most of my eyebrows.
Nice. Nice.
But at least that's a somewhat more sensible reason to set yourself on fire. I've done it a few times, and it's usually just trying to light a fire with too much accelerant, or barbecues with too much accelerant, not realizing that the barbecue creates that trapped space that you then ignite, and that all that pressure has to go somewhere, which is right towards your face, which is in front of where you're lighting.
At our work, we have at the car ships, when we're doing those, they have those little packets of creamer, except they don't have, because there's no refrigerator there at the dock, there's no like creamers,
Mhm.
they have the little packets of Coffee Mate.
Sure.
So I always grab a couple of extra because people come over and so eventually you end up talking about how you can make Coffee Mate into an inferno. And people go, that's not true. You can't do it. And you pull out one of those and you put it on a tablespoon and you light the barbecue and you have them throw it over the barbecue. And it like mushroom fireballs over the barbecue.
No way.
Yeah. I'll film it for you. When it's dark out, I'll film it for you here on my patio and show you what it looks like. But Coffee Mate is oil. And when you mix it with enough air and you get that, what do they call it? Stoichiometric value of air and oil and heat over the barbecue, the whole thing just, you can see the flame travel up it quickly, but it goes up like diesel fuel.
Wow, dude, there's like a ton of videos on YouTube about this, and yeah, I guess it's spot on. It's powdered non-dairy creamer is flammable.
Very flammable. Like, you know how in a grain silo, if wheat chaff breaks down to microscopic levels and it's suspended in the air, and you introduce an ignition source, that stuff only burns when it's tiny little particles, and it only burns at the right value of oxygen. But you can grenade a whole building in a second. If somebody lights a cigarette in a grain silo, they're pretty much doomed to be concussed or incinerated, or something terrible happens.
Now, is that the same principle? I know Timothy McVeigh. Didn't he use a fertilizer bomb? Was that something the same principle?
That was different. Not nitromethane. I forget the actual chemical, but it's diesel fuel mixed with farm fertilizer. Right. And when you explode that with about a quarter stick of dynamite in a 50-gallon pail, you can take a building down.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've learned so many things on this show, on the After Party.
Don't do this at home, kids.
Yeah, don't try this at home, kids. This is no. And if you're over the age of consent and you have Coffee Mates, stay away from the barbecue.
You think to yourself, well, I have one of these big containers of Coffee Mate. I wonder what would happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Or you always end up with somebody at a redneck party on the top of a mountain, and you're throwing like pallets and stuff in the fire. You get a good bonfire going, and some jackass throws a bullet in it.
Oh yeah, that would be. I could see how that would be a problem. Right there.
Well, bullets they pop and they scare the hell out of everybody, but unless they're actually in a barrel, there's not enough velocity. I mean, they pop and explode, and it's unfortunate. If it hit you in the eye, it would cause damage.
Yeah.
If it hits you in the chest, it's like somebody throwing a rock at you, right? Mm-hmm. But still a really dumb thing to do at a bonfire.
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing we know from I developed this rule of 19. Whenever there's something so stupid I find it difficult to believe, I go, well, it's been COVID-19 and look at all the stupidity. And that's the rule of 19. I reassure myself. I just want to reassure myself that there is no bottom to human stupidity. Even if it seems like it's.
I think there is a bottom, but I think it's somewhere in the Florida Everglades.
In the belly of a gator.
I think the bottom is the Darwin Awards, at the point at which what you're doing was obviously stupid and terribly dangerous and cost you and or someone or someone's else their life on this planet. That's the bottom. That's yeah. And
you're an awesome dad, brain bug. I'm so gonna do that.
I used to crush sparklers into powder and then sprinkle it over the fire when I tell kids scary stories. That's great, brain bug. That's great. That's magic.
I think I'm beyond the statute of limitations here, but to incriminate myself slightly, there is a place not too far from where I live called the Lummi Island Indian Reservation. Mm-hmm. And Lummi Island is a small place in Washington State on the coast. And I think their main source of income is selling fireworks.
No.
So around Halloween in Canada, we're not allowed to have fireworks that have what's called a report. So a bottle rocket that goes wee bang at the end. Our bottle rockets go wee and do nothing. So we have fireworks like professional fireworks that you have to have a license for. But in the States, they have screechers and they go wee and they shoot down the street and they go pop at the end. Ours don't pop. We don't have stuff like that. So, of course, there was the entrepreneur in me decided it would be a great idea to go down to Lummi Island and pick up as many fireworks as my car could hold that go pop and bring them back here and sell them. And
how old were you, Dave?
I was beyond the statute of limitations. Let's put it that way.
All right, sure.
Not quite developed into a fully capable mental adult.
Sure.
But getting there.
Last year. Sorry. You did walk into
this. This was definitely pre 9/11 because they have they now have sniffers at the border. So if you drive through the border with gunpowder in your car, they know.
Oh yeah.
So we loaded up my car with approximately $600 US worth of fireworks, and drove across the border. And you haven't been over the border very long. Where'd you go? Oh, we just went to get gas and cheese. All right. But the border guard never looked at the fuel gauge, which wasn't full.
Right.
Nor did he ask about the cheese, which we did not have.
It was a simpler time, Dave. It was a simpler time.
So we'd come back here and we'd, quadruple our money on these fireworks in Canada. And it was actually quite a serious problem up here because so many people figured it out that, you could spend $1,000 and make $5,000 off of them just because of it. It's that whole black market thing. If you create a black market, someone will fill the void, right? So
right.
But doing that today would probably get you 20 years in jail. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Brainbug says this is like the anarchist cookbook section of the after party after show.
Yeah.
If you take a bundle of sparklers, duct tape them together, and pull one as a halfway as a wick, you have a pretty powerful explosive device. How about that?
If you've ever seen a screecheroo, and don't look them up online and don't do this at home, but if you take a screecheroo and you wrap it in duct tape and you gently pound it down flat with a, let's say, 3-pound dead blow hammer, and create an enormous amount of pressure in the powder that's inside of it, and you put that into like a drilled out hole in a 2x4. Don't put it in anything metal because it'll turn into a hand grenade. But if you put it in like a hole in the ground or a hole in a piece of wood and light it on fire, the explosion, if you're within 10 feet, your ears will ring.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they sell these at Halloween like everywhere. It's not difficult to get your hand on enough explosive powder to do some damage to something, right?
So Dave, what I'm curious about, right? And so you got all these fireworks. You make a pretty profit off it.
Yeah.
Now, what prevented you from saying, I can replicate this, I can scale this up?
Well, the risk of getting caught at the border.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But I wasn't affected. I didn't come from a family where we had a terribly large amount of funds in our resources.
Mm-hmm.
So having an opportunity to, quadruple or make 5 times my money on something was a pleasant experience, and I wasn't greedy enough to want to ramp this up. There's only so many fireworks that I could actually fit in the hidey places in my car. So
you can only stuff so many in your pants. I understand.
Yeah. And the other thing is, once you set, you tell everyone that you're going to do this, and you get, 15 people that say, oh, I'll buy them from you. Once you sell to all of them, where do you go with the rest of them to get rid of them? And the last thing you want is a house full of explosives.
We could put that on a t-shirt. The last thing you want is a house full of explosives.
Yeah.
I imagine even the drive with the boot full of explosives is not Not the smartest thing either.
I not to incriminate myself with the methodology of how this went down, but there was one time where we purchased, we got a great deal because we kept going back to the same place.
Right.
So the guy's like, "Hey, it's you again. Hey, I'll give you 20% off." So we ended up with more fireworks than I could actually hide, like under the dashboard, in the doors, in the hidey places.
Right.
And I did. I had maybe 4 or 6 bricks of bottle rockets under my hood in the engine compartment.
Oh.
And we're like, yeah, this is gonna be spicy.
You know, at that point, I would be like, why shouldn't we just do drugs? I mean, if we're balls into this venture now, if I was riding shotgun with you, Dave, it's like we should just be doing drugs at this point. You understand that, right?
Well, I can't tell you the number of times we've been crossing the border, or 4-wheel driving, or fixing a car, or doing something where we've paused just before what we were about to do and said, "Hang on, are you sure?" Like,
right.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, well, you always need a designated thinker, right?
We didn't have one of those.
Yeah. You need someone to like pump the brakes, so to speak, symbolically speaking, and to say, is this the wise choice?
Yeah, there was probably a time in our lives where our girlfriends collaborated on, okay, no more than 3 of them are allowed to get together at a time.
Yeah.
Never on a Friday night, never after they've been drinking, and not with any good car. Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Good times.
Oh yeah. Well, glad to see that you're still alive, Dave, and not in prison, and that you have all your fingers. I never really took account of your fingers, but I assume that you still have all your fingers. So there you go, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're not in 100%. They're not mint.
They're not mint. They're not even near mint. But they're in fair condition.
Maybe a 6.5, 6 1/4.
Right.
Oh, geez. And then, having got into motorcycles and racing and stuff like that. I told you about when I went to my high school reunion, there was like 5 people at 5 different times came up to me and said, "Wow, you're still alive?" Most likely not to make it to high school reunion should have been written under my picture.
Right. Yeah, I think that, that's congratulations, Dave, on that.
Well, you get to a certain point where you're like, this is fun. This is awesome. This is super exciting. This is a great adrenaline thing. I might actually die here. And you start backing down the ladder again.
Well, I had a buddy in high school who was turned out to be somewhat of a stuntman. He was a knight. I think I've talked about him before. He was a knight for King Richard's Fair, like the head guy.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of times in high school I'm like, I don't think Joe's going to make this,
Yeah, there was one time my friends were doing the old thing where I bet you can't jump this, I bet you can't jump that, and of course I had a BMX, and I'm out there ripping it up. So we had one of those big circular concrete culverts in the middle of the road. They were putting in a new, like a cul-de-sac at the end, and they had to put more piping in and all that. So they had this giant thing in the middle of the road, and there was dunnage all over the place from the houses that they were building. So my friends decided if we put a 4x8 sheet up against this thing, it'd be too steep. But if we put like 2 or 3, we could like progressively ramp this up. So the problem was we couldn't move the big thing, and it was right in front of a new ditch that they had built. So, the conversation went to, "Hey, do you think you can jump that?" Nice. Well, if I can get enough speed, if I can get high enough, with the right ramp, anything's possible. Physics is just an equation, right? So we figured it out, and they laid out all this board, and we, did a couple of test runs up the thing, and I thought, all right, I can do this.
What I would have said when you said physics is nothing but math? I'd say yes, but but stupid is chemistry. Have you pondered that, though, sir?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So I hit this thing, and of course, dunnage isn't the strongest wood in the world. So my front wheel basically buried the second sheet and the third sheet of 4x8 plywood into the side of the concrete culvert. And luckily for me, I was high enough that I went over the culvert and kind of stopped just before falling into the big ditch.
Missed it by that much.
But that's not the end of the story. The story continues. All right, guys, we got to put something under this so it doesn't break when I hit it. So yeah, you know, you learn and you come back stronger and you do it right the second time. So,
or not.
That's always an option.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the benefits of having a minor disability is that I was always like, that looks dangerous. I'm just trying to stay vertical, to tell you the truth. That is my main goal, is staying vertical. I appreciate other people who can do those things. Don't get me wrong, but you know, for me personally, I'm gonna try to stay vertical. That's my stretch goal, I guess, for me.
Well, vertical on a bicycle, you just mean like straight up and down. You don't mean actually like going downhill.
Exactly. It is just being on the bike. That's me. And just standing, walking, not falling. Those are my goals, daily goals.
How is your dexterity? Are you a juggler? Are you?
No. I could. Once, what I have difficulty with is integrating the whole system. Now I could. I think if I really put my effort into it, like I could play piano, for example. I only have to focus on my fingers, right, and maybe on the pedals. But when you get me into doing something like basketball or skiing is a multi-system, you know, all different parts of your body trying to like work together. It takes me probably 5 to 10 times longer to actually figure anything out with that.
Do you think maybe you're overthinking the skiing thing? Because it's more of a feeling, right? When you're skiing, you just absorb the mountain into yourself and you glide and you enjoy and you become one with the mountain.
That's normie talk. What you're doing right now is normie talk.
What's this? What's this?
I'm a Canadian. We ski. What can I say, right?
To tell you the truth,
I'm the same as Andy. I can't not overthink everything. And so for me, it was a constant battle between my anxiety and my fear of everything, but my need to please everybody. So I did get up to stupid stuff and put myself in some pretty precarious places, but it was always to impress somebody.
That's terrible.
Had the desire to do it. I was always usually the one saying, "This seems like a stupid idea, guys."
Yeah. Have you ever done cliff diving?
No, I've done skydiving, but that's it.
Yeah, cliff diving is fun, especially when you go like 4 couples and you go up to an area where there's cliff diving in an area where like 8 people die every year. And the 3 guys you're with say, "Hey, we're going to go jump off that cliff over there. Do you want to come join us?" And the first thing you do is look over at the girls to see if your girlfriend is watching. And if she is, you're like, "Yeah, let's go cliff diving."
Yeah.
You know, but I guess my brand here is that none of my girlfriends would ever think at any time that it would be that would be a check mark in terms of Andy going off cliff diving. Being funny, possibly, and odd historical references maybe, but jumping off a cliff, no.
And we clearly didn't have as normal childhoods as you did, Dave. I was just trying to impress my mates. What's this girl's business?
You know,
I wish I was impressing girls. This was just my stupid mates.
I meet you and I raise you by saying my thief, my my 12th level thief will make the jump. And I have a +3 on dexterity for that roll. So I feel confident about that.
I have my gaming dice here. What do I need to roll? No, I've mentioned before, I started work very early. I was a carny at the 2 weeks before my 13th birthday. I started work at the Pacific National Exhibition, basically hanging up teddy bears, cleaning up games, picking up like when you throw a baseball at a target, the operators are usually talking to the customers. So they have someone go in and they grab the darts off the dartboard, they blow up the balloons and rehang them on the Pop One game, and on the baseball games they sweep up the stuff that's been knocked off the shelf if you're doing like plate smash or something like that, and pick up all the balls and that. So I started doing that when I was very young. So if you did a good job, the people you were working for would usually tip you because you helped them make more money, more commission. So I had quite a bit of cash on hand when I was 13 years old, 13, 14, 15, 16. When I worked there, I made quite a bit of money. So I liked to go out. So at a very early age, I was asking girls my age to go out to dinner or a movie or both, or some event or a concert or something like that. And there wasn't a lot of competition with money and friends with cars. There was a long string of, would you like to go out with me on Saturday? Yes. So I didn't have a normal growing up. And the other thing was, whenever I wanted to go out, like when we went to Pink Floyd to watch the skylights at the planetarium and stuff like that, my parents would say, "Oh, what are you doing tonight?" And I'd grab my work shirt and I'd say, "Oh, I'm working tonight. I'll be home around 1." And just take off, put the shirt out in the yard somewhere, hide it, and come back at 1.
That's great.
So yeah, I didn't have a leash, as it were, and I had money and friends with cars, and we lived very close to a movie theater, so I didn't have the usual high school experience that most people have.
13-year-old me would be like, why aren't you spending that money on comic books?
My dad used to buy me comic books.
I
still have some of those.
Oh, there you go.
My 13-year-old self would have been at the video parlor.
We did that at lunchtime.
Time Zone here. And they used to have what they called marathons, and they'd start at like 11 p.m. And but you got locked in, so it was safe, I guess, and it was only kids. It wasn't like creepy adults.
In case there's a fire.
But these marathons would go all night, and you'd come out when the sun was coming up, and we just thought that was the best thing in the world.
Before the pandemic, in the Brattle Theater over in Cambridge and Harvard Square, they did a movie. Well, it was a cartoon marathon of cartoons, and they provided cereal and milk, so you could literally just get a bowl of your favorite. And they had a fair selection of cereal too, and you could just get your favorite cereal, your milk, and you could just like watch cartoons. All right, so some of the cartoons weren't that great, but some of them were pretty weird.
Yeah, we didn't have a sleepover at the arcade, but there was a pretty good arcade at the Peony, and I got to know the guys there really well. But we had the Vancouver Aquarium when my nieces were toddlers. The Vancouver Aquarium was doing the sleepover at the aquarium, and my sister took her there, and they literally slept in front of the huge like fish and whale tanks and stuff like that inside with a whole bunch of other people, and everybody had to have an adult with them and all that. Right. Yeah, it was actually a pretty cool experience for them. I never did that when I was a kid, but I always liked the aquarium. But now I'm against keeping certain things in an aquarium. Out here they don't do cetaceans anymore in British Columbia unless they're unreleasable, if they're like damaged to the point where they can't go back in the ocean.
Sure, that makes sense. All right. Well, we're closing down.
I noticed we're ticking away here.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Sam?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out the stark difference there. So we had Dave describing, different girl every weekend and money falling out of his pockets and living the life. And Andy had okay cartoons and cereal.
Yeah, right. All right.
Maybe. Well, we do live on different coasts, so maybe
Yeah.
the West Coast is pretty laid back. Always has been.
Yeah. True enough. Yeah, so we're a bit uptight here in the greater Boston area.
You've got that. You've still got a little. I don't mean to be rude, but you've still got a little bit of that British stick up your ass.
Well, we are superior to the rest of the country. I just want to say, I mean, that may not really be a whole lot here in the States.
And your country is superior to the rest of the world, so
I'm not willing to go with that. But New England, you look at the numbers. We do pretty well for ourselves. So
Well,
we have a bit of an elitism here.
That is where all the best ideas come from.
Yeah, effing right. I know that from my years as cuck.
I love throwback humor. So, Andy, when are we going to see you again? Tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning. Yeah. Hey, thanks for the $2 box. And thanks for the support. Patrons, YouTube members, and people who drop a couple of shekels down. And
don't forget to like and share. Tell all your friends how wonderful Andy's morning show is.
Yes. And now that I've actually resolved the internet issue, for better or for worse, it looks like I'm going to have a clean video. So that's good.
Looks great.
All right.
And if you don't like, biscuits will wake you up at 2 a.m. by licking your feet.
Right. All right. Take care, everyone.
Hooroo.